Hey everybody, how's it going today? It's me, Captain Energy, and today we're going to talk about the SEQTraks. I had a question come up on Reddit as to whether or not you could use multiple SEQTraks together in a performance. The answer to the question is yes. It's a resounding yes, you could. And there are many ways to do that. Among them would be, for example, a PC with multiple MIDI outs could go to each unit, and each unit could be controlled as a different instrument. You could chain them together and just have different sequences on different ones and have them play together with one of them being the clock, or better yet, a different device being the clock, because the clock on here kind of gets a little wonky when you try and stop one, or when you try to pass it through too many devices. It can be a little weird, like when you load a different project on one, they can be a little weird syncing back up. It's better when you have an external clock feeding all of them. And though it can be done, should it be done? Your call. Really, if you can learn it and use it, then I say do what's right for you. Yeah. So let's take a look at this here right now. What I've got going on, I'm going to go right here, and we're going to delete my project on my 8th project on here. So make project, delete, project 8. Do it down here too. Project, delete, project 8. Okay, project 8 is now gone. Now, as you know, if you've used a SEQTrak, we always end up with your first bass drum. I'm going to turn those off because I want nothing to happen when I press play here for a second. All right, so I'm going to hit play, and you will see, because I've got these set up, and I'm going to show you how to do this in a second, that the lights are going together. If I change the BPM, okay, on the master, which is the top one here, to a slower beat per minute, you'll see they both slow down. If I go faster, again, they both speed up. The application that connects to these gets a little weird if it's doing Wi-Fi to more than one at a time. If you're using multiple devices on a wired type setup, using USB cables from each one to the device, you can go to the connect screen and select the one you want to connect to. That's a little cumbersome. You really don't need to unless you're changing sounds or need to be able to see the sounds, as long as you can connect to your master, your main one, which I refer to as the parent, just so you know, because I don't like the master-slave terminology they use in a lot of these things. I go with parent-child. So the parent would be the first one, the child would be the second one. They do what the parent tells them, ideally. Anyway, so right now, you see the clock's synced. If I went over here right now to my first SEQTrak, and we start giving it some kind of a beat, give it a little 4 on the floor. Oops, off by a little. All right. All right, so we'll go to my second one here. Maybe I want to take a different kick drum and go all right, let's go here. Claps. Now I could go up here and just does this work with the synthesizers? Sure. Go over here and we can just grab a synth. All right, let's go over here, grab the same synth up top. Well, the same physical synthesizer, so for a different sound. All right, so you can see that already doesn't work quite right because the length is wrong. Change that. So go over here, we can adjust the length. The length will stay and work together. Okay. So yes, they do work together. Also, if you'll notice here, I've got my audio out of here, going to my audio in on the second SEQTrak. What this lets me do is I can go over and I can take these universal effects and I can use them on everything. Or I can go up here and just affect the master, the parent, okay? All right, I'm gonna stop this. All right, so now in order to make this work, what you've got to do is you've got to use the application to set these up. So let's go and take a look at what I've got going on here. First, we're going to look at the parent, okay? Because that's what I've got hooked up to the software. Let me show you my iPad. Welcome to my iPad. As you can see, it just says SEQTraks. Now, when you're wired, they all just say SEQTraks. So figuring out which is which, if you have multiple wired, can be a little tricky. You just need to know, as you hook them up, kind of track which is which, and it's kind of complicated. We'll just leave that alone for now. Here's SEQTrak. It's connected to my parent, because that's where my USB wire is. All right. So now we're going to go in here, and I'm going to go right over to here. Back to the main page. We're going to hit the GUI. And now what we want to do is we're going to go to Settings. In Settings, there are a few different things we want to look at here. First of all, you can see my beat per minute right now is 138. That's why it's what everything's running at is 138, because that's the parent. My scale, you want to be sure, this is something you'll need to do manually, that your scale and key are set across all units, unless you're playing chromatically, or you're playing a full keyboard on them. Maybe you went ahead and enabled the full octave keyboard, and you're playing them that way, and you're managing the key and scale manually. That's your call. But if you're trying to use the 7 like little trigger pads that they have on there, you're going to want to be sure that these match. All right. Let's see. So next we want to go. So I'll put down 6 patterns because I like the 6, not the 3. That gives you a little more room to play with. Let's go down to the next part here. Go to advanced for a second. Okay, everything looks good here. It's all, everything's fine. I've got the master effects USB. Okay, this part right here means the USB, if anything coming through USB will go through master effects. I can turn that off if I want to. Right now, one little feature about this device that I'm not really getting into here is that when it's connected to your computer, it becomes the audio interface. So it's kind of cool. You get an audio interface out of it, nice, like a pro quality type audio interface. Or maybe not pro, but better than what's built into most devices. All right. Anyway, let's go to the next part here. So we're going to MIDI. And now that we're in MIDI, here's where we start looking at settings that we need to change. What we need to do is we need to be sure that the first unit, the parent, has the clock set to send. All right, so send on right here. You can see this thing right here. Be sure that's on. You want to be sure that the clock is set to internal right here, so it's on the left. So this one's to the right, that one's to the left. And the reason that we have that way is because if we have this on external and you press play, nothing's going to happen on the parent. Because the parent has to have, basically, if you think of the clock like a command to say, tell a child, hey, wipe that table off. If the parent doesn't say anything and they're waiting to be told to wipe the table off, you know, that's what it would be if they were on external. They're waiting for someone to tell them to do something. And it's not going to happen because someone's got to be in charge. Being the parent, you've got the internal, you're in charge. All right. We also want to have the down next one right here. We want to have this set to send start and stop message. And the reason we have that is because when I press start and stop on this first parent, I want it to go, okay, I'm starting. Tell everybody else to start and send this signal, my external or internal clock, I should say my internal clock, send that to everybody so they're all in sync with me. Let's go down and take a look at the advanced. That's the common settings. Let's go to the advanced for a second. Now here we want to have the MIDI cable for channel messages set to, let's leave that on off. Okay. USB these are basically defaults. We'll just leave these the way they've been. Bluetooth, same thing. Leave it the way it's been. All right. Now that's your parent device. Let's go home because now this is set up. It should be sent to the device and the device should be ready to basically follow directions now. So now what we want to do is we'll go to the second unit. So we're going to go back over to connections. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to unplug my USB cable from the first one and plug it into the child. Now the child comes up and says, I'm a SEQTrak, just like the parent did, which this is why it gets confusing when there's a bunch hooked up because you can't tell which SEQTrak is which. They don't have ID numbers on them. Wish they did. That'd be a nice little feature, Yamaha. If you're listening to this video, it would be nice to know which device has which ID so that this would be a little easier. So let's go back out here. And now we're going to go to our GUI again. And we're going to go to the MIDI settings. One more time. By the way, you can see right here, I'm going to go to project for 1 second just for the sake of showing you a couple things. You'll see that this SEQTrak, even though it's following the parent at 138 beats a minute, is set to 120 beats a minute, but it follows. And I've got the C and the minor set the same, so the key is the same, the scale is the same, and so they will mesh together when I use them. I'm going to turn that on real quick just because I wanted that on both anyway. All right, so now we're going to go down to check out advanced. Again, this looks fine. Everything is okay. We'll leave that all on. Let's see, MIDI counting. Yeah, okay. And let's go to MIDI. And now here's where things start to get different. On the parent, we had the clock set to send on. Here we have it set to off. The reason we have it set to off is because we don't want any conflicts. The parent sets the pace. The child follows the pace. That's how it goes. All the children should not be sending clock. Only the parent should send clock. The parent should be the only one with an internal clock, internal sync. See how the sync says external? That's because it's waiting for the parent to say, let's go. Here's the clock. Follow me. Next, we have down here the start and stop message, the send, start, and stop message. We don't want that. We want that off. So right now, that will just follow through with the timing provided by the parent. If we go to the next screen, here I have everything off for the MIDI channel. We have the through turned off. We have, let's see, SysX is turned off. This is turned, okay. Now here's where it could be different if we had a third device. If we had a third device, I would want MIDI from external device through turned to on. What that would do is it would allow the clock to pass from the parent through the second unit to a third. And then the third would have it on and it would pass to a fourth, if you get what I'm saying. If that makes sense, I think that's pretty easy to understand. USB, all this is default. Bluetooth, all that is default, and we are good to go. Now, what you will lose here in this method is the ability to see what sound you're on and that type of thing. So you won't be able to go back, going back to home and GUI, and we'll go to sounds. All right, so right here we have, like, for example, when I change my different sounds, you can see what they are. Since the second unit isn't hooked up to anything, you've got to really know what you're looking at. Or you could get a second screen. Maybe you've got a phone and an iPad. Maybe you've got two phones. You know, that old iPhone that you've got lying around, and you're just like, oh, what do I do with this thing? Hey, here you go. This is what you do with it. You add it to your build here, and you have two units hooked up to USB, and that way you can control two devices and have screens on both. That would be pretty handy. And I could just see somebody making like a little 45-degree angle you know, platform type thing to put two SEQTraks on and two iPhones, so you could have it all hooked up nice and pretty. And if anyone does that, patent pending. I'm just kidding. Anyway, but yeah, so, and that's basically it. Now it's up to you. You just need to be sure you're keeping track of what's what. The other thing, the other reason you want or would maybe want a second phone would be loading projects. Because right now, as the units stand, you can only have 8 projects loaded. Great if you're kind of an on-the-fly producer. If you're doing live shows in that way, that you're just like, I just want more ability. I just want more tracks that are sequenced, and I just want to be able, I'm going to be doing this all live. You know, I'm going to be sitting here, and I'm going to hit play, and I'm going to go, okay, here we go. You know, I'm going to throw some, going to do it all live, you know. But if you're not doing it all live and you want to pre-produce your stuff, you're going to want a second device anyway, because you're going to be able to load other projects, because 8 probably isn't enough to do a whole set in most cases. I can't imagine anybody only playing 8 songs in like an hour or whatever a set is these days. I mean, unless you're doing like a 15-minute or maybe a 30-minute set, I feel like you need more than 8 tracks. I mean, that's pretty much it. That's all you need to do to get these to work together. Other than that, what you could do if you wanted to is you could get yourself a third device, like a SEQTrak from Sonicware, and these units could be hooked up by MIDI to that device, and that device could provide a clock. And if that device is providing the clock, and these two are both set in child mode, okay. If that were the case, then you could do even crazier stuff with it, because now you've got another whole device. I hope that answered the question, and I think it did. And if you have more questions regarding how this can be done, how to handle this whole thing, feel free to hit me up in the comments. So that's basically the whole thing. That's all you really need to know in order to use this with multiple devices in a live scenario. There are other ways to use them in production. They can be hooked up, like I said, with a multi-MIDI device, a multi-MIDI controller. Say, for example, like a Mach of the Unicorn MIDI Express 128 or something. Each one could be on a different channel, and then you can completely control it with the sequencer. And that at that point, they just become sound modules. They lose their kind of groove box features, if you will. They don't lose them, but they're not really being utilized in that. You're using it as an external sound bank controlled by another sequencer, and that's fine. Do what's right for you, you know what I mean? And if you have any other questions, hit me up in the comments. I would be glad to try and answer them and show you other things here. This is one of my favorite devices. I gotta tell you, I haven't got many devices that I have given the kind of attention that these devices have gotten lately. I just love them, and I'm super glad that Yamaha created them, and I hope that they make another one. I hope they make something where it's more capable than one of these, and maybe build some more features in. Maybe we have, take these two and join them to one actual physical device where it's I don't know how they do that, because the MIDI channels would be used up, unless they split it out and decided to just make a couple more drum tracks and more synthesizer on there, give us a real sampler instead of just a phrase sampler type thing. I gotta say though, this device impresses me a lot because of the flexibility that it has. Defining how fun it has been it's hard to tell people, but I love it. I think it's great. I take one with me everywhere I go. I hope you have had a good time listening to the video, checking it out. I hope this was informative, and hopefully you learned something new. Let me know in the comments and what kind of content you'd like to see beyond this in the next video. I'll talk to you later. Bye for now.